All right, thank y'all for joining us today. My name is Jessica Reynolds. I'm the Director of the Office of Downtown Development at the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. And today we are doing our annual State of the Program webinar. This is one of my favorite webinars that we do all year long because A, it's bragging on our programs, getting to talk about all the good stuff that's happening. B, we get to look at trends and things that are happening around the state, share information with you guys and stats that we've been able to see and trends that we've been able to identify based on that. And then we also talk about some fun stuff that's coming up. So with that being said, let's just go full force. I can, of course, make my presentation work. All right. Again, this is what we're going to talk about. I'm going to introduce our team. We'll talk about our annual impact, about the assessment process, some trends, and then I've got some information on upcoming trainings and kind of also an overview on what training has been like last year with the implementation of our Main Street 101 online. So, meet the Office of Downtown Development. I really should have taken the time to add pictures here, but we don't have unified photos, so I just felt like color blocks would be a little bit easier to look at. So again, I'm Jessica Reynolds. I'm the Director of the Office of Downtown Development. In Athens, we have Carmine Fischetti. He's our Design Studio Manager. We currently have a vacant position for our Design Studio Coordinator in Athens, and we are in the process of doing interviews, I would say, in the next couple of weeks, and hope to have someone in place by either mid-April or beginning of May, the latest. And then we have some 3 design interns from UGA that work with us. So it's not just Carmine alone in the office, even though I would say that he says sometimes it's too quiet without Julian. So we do miss Julian. Then we have Tess Harper, who is our Communications and Training Coordinator. Tess is based in Macon, for those of you who don't know, and she handles everything communications and training-wise. So the newsletters, that all comes from Tess. Social media, all that comes from Tess. Some of the stuff I'm going to show you in a minute, that comes from Tess as well. Some of our cool new media stuff that we've been rolling out this past year and this year, and trainings, logistics, everything and anything in between. That's all Tess as well. Elizabeth Elliott is the newest member to join our team. She is our Downtown Development Technical Specialist. Elizabeth was hired to focus on helping rural communities. So those small communities, and I know you're going to ask me, what does rural communities mean? We're looking at it from the state rural zone legislation designation, which means 15,000 and under. Now that can mean, your Avondale estates, and, you may not consider yourself rural, but, as far as population goes, you are rural. And she's also been hired to help us focus on historic preservation. And for our South Georgia programs that got to meet her, she's also going to be an advocate for you guys, which means she'll be in the field. You guys will get to see her smiling face a lot more, and really just be an asset for our communities. We have Cam Yurdy, who is our Downtown Development Planner. Cam is officially AICP certified. He got that certification this year. We're excited. And Cam is based in Athens, and he's all over the road too. I will say, Cam and I tend to focus on more the metro regional area, and then the North Georgia side of things. And then Cam is down in Milledgeville today for an academy. He'll be in Macon tomorrow for a rural zone presentation. So he's all over the place too. So what I will say is that even though strategically we are trying to make sure that our office is balanced and that we have people, that can access different areas and regions of the state, our goal is that everybody serves everyone. So while we all have our expertise and our kind of areas of strength, at the same time, we want to make sure that we have training and cross-training happening in our office, so that way, if you need something, we can help you immediately. Again, that Design Studio Coordinator position is vacant, but we hope to have it filled by no later than May 1. 2018 Georgia Main Street Impact. Now, I will say that traditionally when I do this part of the presentation, I have multiple slides that talk about the numbers and stuff like that. But one of the cool things that I want to show you on this next page, ta-da, is if you look at this left-hand side, this is a full-page ad that promotes our stats for the last fiscal year, but is in Georgia Trend. Not even was, it is. It is in this month's issue of Georgia Trend. I think Tess told me it's on the second page. I haven't gotten to actually see it in person yet. So now that I'm in the office today, I'm going to have to go scrounging around for a copy of it. I'm really excited, but I'm sure most cities get a copy of this. So make sure you grab this, you flip to page 2, I think she told me it's on. It's like right on the front, and you paperclip it and highlight it and stick it on your boss's desk, because this is something that you contribute to as a Main Street designated program. So in the last fiscal year, we had a little over 1,100 new businesses open, creating a little over 3,000 net new jobs. 657 buildings were rehabbed with a $61 million impact. And I will say, I was on the phone this morning talking with Cam, and God bless, because I love you guys so much, but sometimes we are not the best at reporting. And so we have been, as we've been doing our world tour of South Georgia, working with our communities and getting everybody assessed, we've noticed errors and mistakes in the monthly reporting process, meaning people traditionally tend to underreport, not overreport. And so as we have been meeting with people, we've been having those discussions and trying to get this information updated. And just to show you a little bit of a difference, when I was looking at the numbers, our our building rehabs were up by like $15 million just since we put this stuff out. So, I will emphasize that, reporting is hugely important, and it's because we use this information to communicate the impact statewide. So not only is this ad that you're seeing here on the left-hand side page in Georgia Trend magazine this month, but also we did a special little pamphlet that was distributed and dropped on the House and Senate floor back in the middle of February. And we do that as an educational piece to help communicate with our legislators the impact that's happening in our communities, the reach that our program has. This is partially how we've been able to add new positions to our office, is because we're able to communicate that impact, and we're constantly telling our story. So these things do matter. Us telling our story does matter, and that's how we get more support and funding for you guys, and that's what we're continuing to do. One of the things that I think is really cool on this page is the reinvestment ratio. So what we do is we look at all the numbers and we see how much is being budgeted and spent from local cities on Main Street, and then we look at what that private investment is. And so for us in Georgia, the reinvestment ratio is 26-1, which means that for every $1 that is invested into a local Main Street program by the city, we see an average private reinvestment of $26 happening in the community. So, that's huge to think for every dollar you spend, you're seeing $26 of an investment happening from that $1. I don't know a lot of other things that can give you what I would relate to as a cash on cash rate of return for all my EDFP lovers out there. But, you're getting a huge return on your money. You're getting a huge return on your investment. And so that's what we have to do, is we have to be better at communicating our impact and that reinvestment rate of return that we're seeing. And so we're trying to do that, and we encourage you guys to do it as well. One of the other cool things that we did and that Tess spearheaded for us as an office is in November of last year, we did our first ever Small Business Saturday campaign. So we rolled out a 30-second and 1-minute commercials and ads, and those were both TV and radio, and did some of that with GPB, Georgia Public, it should be GPB, not GBP, Georgia Public Broadcasting, and really kind of, did a radio news blitz over that Small Business Saturday weekend, encouraged you guys to share it, shared it on the national level as well. We've got huge, tremendous feedback and traction with it. And so what we're working on now is to develop some more smaller 1-minute videos talking about why Main Street. So what does Main Street mean to us? Why is Main Street important? Just, again, another resource for you guys to help tell the story and to tell your story and to say why Main Street matters. And, we think those visuals and things like that and hearing it from other communities is really important part of that process. So that's something else that we're working on right now. Tess is setting up filming dates and locations and working through that whole process. And once we have some hard and fast deliverables, we will make sure to share it with you guys. And in the meantime, you can find our existing 30-second and 1-minute videos that we did on Small Business Saturday on our YouTube channel, which can be found if you just do youtube.com/GA Main Street, like you see right here that I'm highlighting. Circle. Yep. You can find our ads and videos there. All right, moving on. Manager survey, the stuff you really want to know about, right? So you take all this time and energy and fill out this report. So what comes of this? What do we see? What do we notice? What's happening with all of our communities? Average classic Main Street manager salary this year, it is $47,580. One of the cool things that I noticed is that this number is definitely increasing. So this number is up $2,000 over just last year alone. And that is also noting that 50% of our existing managers that are at that classic Main Street level received a raise in 2018. And 20% of them weren't able to say that they received a raise because they were newly hired. So I think that's awesome. The fact that we see this number continually to go up, the fact that we see that people are getting raises, I just think that's exactly where we need to be. That's exactly the direction we need to be going. And that's super exciting for me to be able to see. And I'll tell you, that's a lot more money than I was making when I first started as a Main Street manager. So if I was an incoming manager and was making even around that, I'd be like super excited. But the idea is that we're, rising tides raises all ships, and that we're working together to communicate with our local governments and our partners that Main Street managers and directors are economic developers. So we're not party planners. We're out there rocking and rolling and making impact happen. As you can see, $533 million private public investment this last fiscal year. We are having over $500 million impact, which just blows my mind. And there's no other state in the country that's even close to touching us. So average GEM salary is about $10,000 higher at $57,229. One thing I will say is, GEM communities they hold themselves to a little bit higher level, and they are working really hard at what they do. But that is a $3,000 increase over last year. So GEMS communities, their salary is up by about $3,000 per person per year. And 80% of our existing GEMS managers indicated that they received a raise in 2018, which is super awesome. Average Main Street budget is about $217,000. Which is great. That's really great. One of the things that we noticed is that 51% of our programs have reported that funding is stable. So while last year we saw a little bit more of an increase in the budget, and I will say overall this number is higher than it was last year. I believe last year overall the budget was like 150 average. So this is significantly higher than it was last year. Funding is stable, which is good. It's in a good place. But we've also seen that 25% of our communities reported that they have seen an increase in both private and public funding, so not just one or the other, but both. And 15% have seen an increase in public funding, but a decrease in private funding. And so that just goes back to us really talking about, sustainable revenue and making sure that it's diversified. So the idea is that if one funding stream decreases, the other one can help make up for it. So we're not completely reliant on maybe just the city or maybe just fundraising, whatever your funding comes from, but you need to have that diversified revenue stream. And then last but not least, 5% have seen public funding decrease, but private funding increase. So that's, a little bit of the opposite. And I will say that when we're looking at funding, one of the interesting things for me is that it looks like the city contributing money out of the general funds is becoming a smaller piece of the pie. And the reason I find that interesting is that, again, we're talking about diversifying revenue streams. So how do we bring in money from different avenues? And it's not that the city's not as big a part of the puzzle anymore. It's just that we're not completely reliant on general funds. I almost said in general funds in general to support our programs. But the things that have increased is hotel motel tax usage to support programs. Also, special tax districts, whether it is a tax allocation district, a community improvement district, or business improvement district, using these special taxing districts to make sure that we're injecting new revenue into our program. And then also seeing that sponsorships and in-kind donations are up, and that's great. So people are definitely giving. 43% of our managers have been here 2 years or less. So this has always been a challenge for us. It will continue to be a challenge for us, especially in an economy that is super competitive the way it is right now. This is only a 1% increase from the previous year, which for us is still really good. We're down still 7% from 2 years ago. Again, one of the big priorities for us is training, making sure that we're offering unique, diversified training. Leadership, we're offering our annual leadership summit in the summer. We teach and certified to teach John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership, which I'm super excited about. I love it. I think it's so unique and proprietary. It's not like anything else you've been to, and it really does align well with what our managers are doing and experiencing. So again, we're making leadership a priority. And what I will say to everybody is that, especially to GDA and other people like that, when we're looking at locations for future trainings and conferences and stuff like that, is that we need to keep in mind that, almost half our managers have been here 2 years or less. So we can go back to places we've been before. We can cover topics we've done before, because there are some people who this is the first time they're hearing it. And that's good for us to keep in mind, especially when we're trying to think about new things to talk about. 86% of our managers are city employees. This is a stable percentage from last year, with 92% of our managers receiving health, dental, and retirement. That's awesome. That number is up slightly from 90% to 92% this year. 52% of our programs have support staff. This is like record-breaking news for our office. To say that more than half of our programs have support staff is huge. That means we're not just necessarily doing it alone. And I will say this number is up, I think it's like 12% over last year. So, that again goes with us communicating and telling our story. So when we're being effective and saying, this is the impact we're making and this is the impact we're having, but we can't do it alone, we need help. And I will say this is also where your board can come and advocate for you on your behalf. And I will say that of that 52% of programs that have support staff, the majority of that support staff is full-time, which is really awesome as well. So what's trending downtown? This is, something that we like to focus on, and I love what we've been able to see with these results. One of the things, I have a little Spice Girls throwback here. When to become one. We have 55% of our programs set up as a DDA Main Street combo. I will say that over the past 3 years, we've noticed this trend moving upwards where we are having programs combined. And I think that makes a lot of sense for the ones that do have that existing infrastructure, versus a DDA over here doing their own thing and then Main Street over here doing, their own thing. I will say 2 years ago, I think the number was about 40%. So now we are at more than half of our programs are set up as a DDA Main Street combo. And this number alone is up from just 10%, or is up by 10% over just last year. One of the things, though, that I think I really want to touch on for a second is, kind of how this whole situation works, and how do we communicate and market this to our external partners and stakeholders when we have a situation like this, whether it's a DDA Main Street combo or maybe you're set up like Columbus is, where they have, a business improvement district, and they have a separate organization that manages and oversees that. And so what we have tried to do, and what we've been kind of talking about with our communities that we met this year, is this 3 kind of like step approach. So the idea and how we communicate this is that downtown is the destination we're supporting. So if I'm, from Carrollton, Carrollton is my downtown destination. That is a location that we're advertising. It's a destination we're supporting. That is, what we're driving our tourism and economic development towards. DDA is the organization that supports the revitalization of downtown. So we have the downtown as the destination. We have DDA as the organization that is supporting that destination. And then we have Main Street as the approach that's being used by the DDA to initiate those revitalization efforts. Because we're using all these words and we're using all these terms and we're using them interchangeably. And the reality is we have to kind of find a unified way of talking about it, especially in our communities, because, the reality is most people don't get acronyms. They don't understand, what these different programs do. DDA may be doing one thing, Main Street's over here doing another, then we merge them, and then it's like who went away and what's happening. And so when we're communicating this with our programs that we met with this past year, or this past couple of months, for our annual assessment process, is to really have this like unified approach to like how you communicate it like to the public. So downtown is our destination. That's who we're supporting. We are the organization that is supporting this destination, and Main Street is that framework, the approach that we're using to do this. So I think that really kind of breaks it down, makes a little bit more sense. Challenges that concern you guys the most: variety of stores. So that diversity in the types of stores you're offering, vacancies in the actual store fronts, and inconsistent store hours. It's funny because I don't know that I necessarily would have picked these 3 as our top concerns for 2019, but you guys did. And so that means it's something we need to pay attention to. What I'm seeing here, when I look at this variety of stores, vacancies, and inconsistent store hours, that means that Main Street has to be better at being an advocate for these small businesses and not just economic developers. And what that means is it's not just focusing on getting a business in, but getting the right business in and making sure that they're supported. And so maybe we need to have better partnerships with our small business development centers, our universities, if they have those kind of tools and resources, small business administration. And what we will do is, going forward, now when we start planning training coming up for like 2020 and stuff like that, is figuring out, okay, how can we tackle some of these ideas? And the thing is, I think we could easily do a 201 on some kind of version of this, because I will say store vacancies and kind of that also rolls into building codes and compliance and stuff like that. It's easily something that we could talk about. We have a lot of communities that are creatively tackling this. And I will say that when it comes to addressing this, it's a little bit stick and a little bit carrot. So it's a little bit city having to do code enforcement and really kind of holding people's feet to the fire, but also a little bit about trying to incentivize the process as we're going through it. So being able to see that these are the, challenges that concern you most coming up, I think that really just lets us then say, okay, this is what's happening. What can we do? Who's doing this really well? Who's combating this really well? And how can we, bring this to the forefront? Main Street is definitely better supported today. When I went back and was looking at the impact this year and over the past several years, we've been doing this. This will be our, I think it's 4th State of the Program presentation. One of the things that I noticed is that overall Main Street is better funded than it was even 4 years ago. So manager salaries are up $6,000 overall just over the past 3 years, which is huge. Budgets are up by $48,000, so almost $50,000 our budgets have increased by, and the majority of programs have support staff. Again, just highlighting that we're not doing this alone anymore. And I think, this is definitely a good trend. I don't think anybody would say more money is a bad trend ever. But I think that means what we're doing is working. I think we can always do, stuff a little bit better, which means like we just need to be more ferocious in how we communicate and share this information. And we just need to be, better advocates for you guys and help you guys share your story and tell your story on the local level, which is why we're working on developing those materials and things that you can share and really help, help allow you to tell your story. But I think this is great. These are great numbers. These are positive trends, and it's definitely something to be excited about. All right, 2019 assessment recap. I'm not going to lie, today is like the first day in the past 3 weeks that I've been back in the headquarters at DCA. And the reason for that is we have been on the road non-stop. So we started visiting communities at the end of January, and we just finished up our last annual assessment with Blackshear while we were in Brunswick last Thursday. And I'll say we ended on a great note. I'm so excited. But we have been on the world tour. So we met with 6 different regions, totaling 32 Main Street programs in 4 different locations over the past 8 weeks alone. And in the middle of all that, we also did a Main Street 201. So I'm not going to lie, I kept joking like I needed the tape above like my mirror in the morning to say, you are here and you are meeting with these people, because like at some point you're just like, where am I? What's happening? But I would not change a thing, because I will say that, meeting with our communities face to face is unlike any other assessment. There's just so much that can't be conveyed through paper, and being able to see and hear about all the good stuff that's happening, and for us to be able to I take ferocious notes. I call them ferocious notes, because it's crazy how much stuff I write down when I'm meeting with communities, because I want to remember everything. And when somebody asks me about somebody who's doing something good, I want to be able to refer back and be like, oh, hey, did you know so-and-so is doing this, and this could work for you, and have you thought about this? And so I think that this is one of the best things that we've been doing. I can't speak for you guys, but I will say that I think everybody pretty much walks away with a positive experience. And based off of our survey results, those who we have met with have enjoyed the experience. So that's exciting. This year we will have 29 affiliates, 70 classic communities, and 16 gems. I will say that this gems number is flexible. We have a couple new communities that we're hoping to introduce into the program this year. The gems process has also been slightly tweaked. And so the way it works, for those of you who don't read my emails or pay attention when we roll out something new, I'm going to break it down for you real quickly. The GEMS process will correlate with the actual accreditation process. So the first step is us meeting with you for the annual assessment. Then we will invite you to apply to be a GEMS community. We have a short application, and that's really just to make sure that you guys are as interested in it as we are as interested in you being a part of it. And then the follow-up is that we will do site visits with these communities during the summer, just to be on the ground, to see everything, live and in the flesh, and make sure everything looks good and copacetic. And one of the other things that we're doing is inviting existing GEMS communities to participate in that process, because we really want you guys to have ownership over it. It's something that you've worked really hard for, and it's not just about what we think, but it's also about what you guys think, and being able to be part of that shared experience. So as of right now, we have 16 communities. Again, I'm hoping to be able to add to that this year, and we will make our official announcement as far as all of our GEMS communities that will be, the designation will start January 1, 2020, at the DCA Fall Conference in October. Also, congratulations to Pennbrook. They are our newest Classic Main Street designated city. They went through the startup process and have come back into the fold, did a presentation with us. We were so excited to hear from them. They're doing a lot of good stuff on the ground. And I will say that I think we have one more community that'll be coming in, but I can't quite make that announcement just yet. But once we do, we will be sure to share with you guys. And something else that we're doing this year that we hope to continue from here on out is our Spirit Award. And we're actually going to create a literal award that will be passed from community to community every single year. Because let me say, you guys really do go all out for these presentations and these meetings, and we appreciate that, because the more good energy you bring to it, the more good energy we bring to it as well. And it, when you're you're meeting with different communities all day long and in different, cities, week in and week out, it's one of those things that it could become monotonous, but it hasn't, because you guys put so much love and energy into it. And so our Spirit Award this year goes to Homerville. Woohoo! Homerville was so outstanding. I have to give a shout out to Diane West. Her and her board members, they just came and y'all, I wish I had a picture to share with you now, and maybe Tess will be able to share one with me to share with you guys, but they came, they decorated tables, they brought props. I mean, they told the story of what's happening there, and they had so much energy. It was exciting. It was exciting to be a part of. It was exciting to see and experience. And I mean, they really just, and it's one of those things that I can't convey. It's not necessarily about the numbers. So, Homerville's a small community. They're not going to be able to compete on the numbers level as someone who's Valdosta or Columbus or Macon. But they've got a lot of spirit and a lot of energy, and you can see by what they're doing that they're partnering with the community, that they got a lot of good stuff going on, and they're just so excited about it. And that really gets us pumped up. And so I just have to give a shout out to Homerville. They did an amazing job with their presentation, with just really bringing their A game. It was so exciting, and I'm so proud of them. All right, Main Street Training Report. So last year we implemented our Main Street 101 as an online process. So people can go online and get certified through Main Street 101. And we are just a couple months shy of being at a year for a launch. So we're 10 months into this. And so I thought it'd be really interesting to look back at our numbers and see what that looks like. So since May 2018, we have had 135 managers and board members complete the online certification, which is huge and phenomenal. There is an average passing score of 88%, but I will say that for the GEMS communities, they do have an average passing score of 91%, so just a little bit higher. And I also want to give a shout out to Thomasville and Toccoa and a couple other communities who really have gone above and beyond to get their whole boards accredited, and so they've made that a priority. I know Dalton's working through it right now, but they've said, look, we want to make sure that all our Main Street board members are online certified, even though they've been through the training before in the past. And I think that's awesome. And I will say that in the future, in order to be considered for GEMS designation, you will have to have all your managers be Main Street, 101 certified. So it's something to keep in mind. It's something to, pay attention to. And I will say, again, just want to give a shout out to those people who really have put the time, energy, and effort into that. And the average time to complete the test is 30 minutes. So the cool thing is the system we use, they keep track of all this, so I can look at all the tests and all the statistics and tell you, what the average length of the exam is and who's taking it and how often they have to retake it and, stuff like that. But, I think it's awesome that, we have been able to accredit 135 Main Street managers and board members just since last May. Because if you think about it, that means we've been able to do that since last May, but we've also done other trainings on top of that, whereas before that wouldn't be possible if we were just focusing on doing the 101s all the time. So this program is definitely doing what it was set up to do. And I also have to give a little shout out and brag for our team, because I know how long it took for us to do this and to put this whole thing in place. And we're actually being asked to speak on it next week when we're in Seattle at the National Main Street Conference to talk to the other state coordinators with us. And so I'm hoping that the National Main Street Center will follow suit and do something similar like this all the way across the national platform, which would be awesome. Main Street 201, we had our first Main Street 201 in Greensboro on February 26th. We had record attendance for our 201. We had a little over 80 people signed up from all over the state. We had, we had Paula coming all the way from Kingsland, and we were so excited to have her. So we had people, literally from all ends of the state, showing up and participating. We've gotten tremendous feedback from this event. Is completely different than anything we've done in the past, really focusing on, one particular topic and doing an in-depth dive. I was so excited to be in Greensboro because the Oconee Brewing Company is just like a beautiful building and a beautiful facility, and their team has so much knowledge and experience, and we got to do this and really keep it on budget and on point and make it affordable. And so that's what we're looking to continue doing moving forward. I will say that in our feedback survey from the event, we had a couple people say, "Oh, I wish we could have done a Greensboro tour," and I completely agree. And actually, we originally had something like that on the schedule, but when we got to the point where we just had so many people coming, we knew it would be logistically a challenge to do that. Moving 80 people around all at once is hard, and especially like trying to be able to hear everybody and communicate and do it effectively. Even our tour that we did at the brewery, we had to break up into smaller groups just to make sure that it was a manageable size. So again, I wish that we could have done that, but we do have something else coming up that I think will help kind of, meet that requirement for people who want to get out and see stuff. So with that being said, we have a couple 201s remaining for the rest of the year. We have 2 remaining ones. We have one in June in LaGrange. It's called Conquering the Diversity Divide. I will say we've heard this a lot when we were on our South Georgia tour, is that how do we bridge the gap of diversity in our community so that people feel like downtown is something for everyone. And we have a phenomenal speaker, Sir Randolph Carter with UGA is going to be coming in. He's awesome. Cam and I have heard him talk and present on diversity. I will say he's one of the few people that I've heard present that his presentation has just stuck with me, and it's something that it has just been with me since I've heard it, and it's something that I knew the second I heard it, we had to share it with our program. So I'm excited to hear him. Again, we will be keeping it small, so I think we're maxing out registration at 40 people, just because we know that in order to really have an effective training, especially on this kind of topic, that we need to be able to have small groups that can have good dialogue and have good conversation. So keep in mind that the numbers will be limited. And then September 17th, we're going back to Brunswick. I say back to Brunswick just because I've been in Brunswick as of last week for our funding downtown 201. I'm excited. We talked with Matthew last week. We've got some good stuff planned. Let me tell you, the building we're going to be meeting in is so beautiful. We got to have our annual assessment presentations there last week, and it's like just one of my favorite buildings. It's gorgeous. So we're going to be meeting there. We're going to talk about all things funding. All this information is available on our website. So you can click on our training calendar, click through things, sign up and register that way. Again, keep in mind that seating is limited for this. Oconee, we had the ability to open it up and really max out capacity. But, for some of these, we just don't have that opportunity, especially with the diversity training. We do need to keep it smaller just so we can make sure that we're really taking advantage of, this topic and this speaker. So just keep that in mind. And then last but not least, we have Mobilize Main Street. And for those of you who like being able to the mobile tour component of the Georgia Downtown Conference, if you love going on mobile tours and you love seeing that kind of stuff, Mobilize Main Street is definitely for you. So we're going to be in Athens, Toccoa, and Madison, May 15th and 16th. The way we have it set up is that you show up in Athens, you park your car, and you never have to worry about anything ever again. Registration includes hotel, transportation, food, everything you need for those 2 days. So we're trying to make it easy and inclusive on you guys. So, you would show up, you park your car, we've got you covered. We will check you into the room, we will check you out of the room. We will pay for everything. We'll make sure you're fed, snacks, treats, all that good stuff. And I will say that we are already halfway at capacity. Again, this is one of those things that we're limited by transportation, and we're limited by our ability to make sure that we're offering an effective training. Moving huge groups around is logistically a challenge. It's also one of those things that we want to make sure that everybody's having a good experience. So our seating is limited at 40 for this event, and we are already halfway to capacity. So one of those things, if this is something that you're considering doing, I would say jump on it sooner rather than later, because this absolutely will fill up. But we've got some cool stuff planned. I will say that I've seen we'll be rolling out hopefully this week the full agenda for this conference or workshop, whatever you want to call it. And people are pulling out all the stops to really just make sure you guys have an incredible experience in their communities. And I think that's awesome. So again, information's on the website. If it's something you're considering, I would say jump on it sooner rather than later, because again, we will be limited based off of transportation. So keep that in mind. And then thank you guys. Thank you for everything you do. Keep Calm Main Street on. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate your feedback. We appreciate your comments. I will say that we read every single thing you send us, and we do take it to heart, and we feel like, your honest feedback does matter to us, and will help dictate what Main Street looks like in the future. And so whenever we ask for surveys or whenever I ask for your feedback, it really does matter, because that really does shape what happens moving forward. And we couldn't do this without you guys. I'm so proud of our programs, and I'm proud of everything that you guys are doing and accomplishing. And it's awesome and to be able to go to something like Seattle and represent the Georgia programs, because I get to meet with 43 other state coordinators and hear what they're doing, and every single time Georgia is leading the way, not only in just training and what we're doing and how we're doing it, but just our programs in general. You guys have no idea how big a rock stars you really are, and that we really do set the bar for what's happening nationally. We aren't party planners. We are economic developers. We've got the numbers and stats to prove it. And I just think that's so awesome. And again, we can only do what we do because of you guys. So thank you for that. So with that being said, do you guys have any questions for me before, I wrap it up? Thank you. Again, if you have any questions, based off of any information you saw or heard today, you can please just shoot me an email, and I can answer it for you guys. This will be uploaded to YouTube later, so you can share it with your boards or anybody locally. To take part in Main Street 201, do you need to pass the Main Street 101 first? That's a good question. No, you're not required to do so, but I would say it's one of those things that I think you will have a better experience if you have been Main Street 101 certified. So the whole idea is that Main Street 101 is available online and there for everybody at any time whenever they're ready. And that Main Street 201 is more in depth. But I think it's one of those things that Main Street 101 is supposed to be creating this common foundation for us, and allowing us to use this common language. So that way, if we go to a 201 and we say something, it's not the first time you've heard it. Yes, the online version. So, like I said, you don't have to have been through Main Street 101 or be Main Street 101 certified to come to any of the trainings that we're doing. But I do think if you are a brand new manager, or if you are a brand new board member, it does help if you've had some exposure to Main Street before joining us. All right. Thank you guys. I appreciate your support. We appreciate y'all. You guys have a great week. And I will say for assessment stuff, we're hoping to wrap all that up this week and get you guys your impact reports and all that stuff uploaded to Dropbox. That's my goal, to get that done this week, just to, get everything wrapped up. But thank you guys, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.